I really think that we should start demanding more of ourselves before we demand of others, because that's where it all starts at, with oneself. With saying that, I'm thinking about how we, as just civilians or regular people, we demand things from the people that we idolize and that we deem to be celebrities. We demand so much of them because we're vicariously living through their lives, want so much to have their power or their abilities to do what they do. So we try to use them as puppets and to control them in a way that we cannot control ourselves. All of that being said, we expect so much of people when they're just like us, for real. They just happen to have the public eye on them, but we put them there. And with that, they're only going to behave in a way that we allow or that we encourage or that we condone. I think we should be, as more descendants, black people, whatever. I feel like we should be more demanding of people that we idolize who have the same ethnic background as us, to be more of in thought process of what they do as they go forth with their day to day. Here it is that we've had, designer after designer that has talked about us or like has spoken negatively about us as a consumer, yet we still will ride with their brand. I'm speaking on that because one thing we pride on is image, and that has a lot to do with slave mentality. A lot of how we carry ourselves in this modern day has to do with slave mentality. Having to grind with knuckles and breaking skin and blood, sweat, and tears and all of that, just to earn something, just to have a small little something to call our own. That was the pride. That was a rejoiceful moment right there. We shied away from having that appreciation for the small things because of how things are being so easily handed to us. So we're just going with a flow, and it has to be better. It has to improve in order for us to improve as a people. Otherwise, we're going to keep doing the same thing, which is a form of insanity, to repeat some shit that is only hurting us in the long run, knowing that it is, and neglecting the fact on the sake of, hey, you only live once, writing it off with that cliche. We have to break that chain. Again, staying with the whole point of image. Coming from rags and riches, traditionally coming from minimum, and being appreciative of that, working with that small, that minute amount of resources, of things to barter with, and being able to build from that. We've started from nothing and grinded up to a great something that other people have wanted a part of, other people that have either oppressed us or been opposed to us. And we act like that never existed because of how easily things are being handed to us in this modern day. That's why I say we need to break this chain. And not to shy away from my whole thing about image, I wanted to finish up with the whole thing about designers. Why is it that, rather than I'm not even going to question why, I'm going to say it like this. I feel like we strongly go along with the flow of speaking about certain designers because of that being a thing that wasn't as available to us when we wanted it to be as a youngster, especially like for young males who going to school or doing what they considered or what they were raised to be taught as the right thing to do. So they are going about their lives, seeing people from the same neighborhood or of same likeness, and they see them fresh. They see them geared up with jewelry, cars, and all of these material things. And because of how shiny it is, it's attractive to the eye. It's catchy, but it's not telling the full story. and neither do the people who have these things or who have acquired these things. They're not telling the full story. They're not telling how they acquired them. They're not telling uh, what the other side of the coin is about. They're just flashing, and the person who's seeing it, they're getting the misconception of it, and that's what we commonly do. We live a life of misconceptions and lies, which is solely in part to blame. We got to blame our predecessors for that. In some ways, like, they didn't know any better, but they had opportunity to learn better. They chose not to. They chose to go with the motions and have babies and not fully educate them properly because they wrote it off that they weren't educated properly, and that's that. And if you ask right now to this day, like people of my generation, people in their 30s pushing the 40s, you ask them, if they were to ask their parents why was it taught to me in a certain way, that's what you will commonly get is, well, that's the way I was taught. I didn't know any better. And that's sad because to not want to know just shows you had no will, no effort, no drive, no ambition to want to even think futuristically. You caring about so much about right there at that moment. And people will say, hey, that's the life people live. You never know what you if you're gonna wake up and whatnot. Yet you do certain things that you plan for. Like people say that you never know what tomorrow will bring. Yet we plan for things like what I'm gonna do if I win the lottery. What I'm gonna do if as a guy. What if I'm gonna do if girl give me that thing. I don't know. We plan ahead for things that are not as more like guns for real. We plan for butter in long term versus what we should be planning for guns. Things that we'll appreciate with value is what we need to think in terms of longevity. But we don't. A lot of us don't, rather. Not many of us don't. And there need to be more of us that do. That is what needs to start trending as we are growing wiser. Like, here it is, we've been woke for real since the 70s. Some people tried to snooze us, but then it just all came right back in to fruition in the mid 80s. Seriously, even though they tried to wipe it out, they tried to snooze us again with the epidemic of crack and amphetamines within our communities, within the urban communities throughout the world. They tried to silence us again back then, but it didn't work. And you notice it if people kind of paid attention to hidden messages. For example, in the movie School Days, Lawrence Fishburne, I feel like me being the 80s baby, that was a moment for real that signified we're woke. Ringing that bell at the end of the movie, that was affirmation that we are awake. So from there, it was about applying that knowledge, which some of us, if you think, they have done it effectively. They've made it their business to let people know that we are alert of certain things. And with doing so, they get shunned. The public finds a way to taint their image for you all to see and to be entertained by, because you all have a thing for drama. Like you get an orgasm, you get an adrenaline rush from such drama, especially when the drama has something to do with a person who has similar complexion of skin like yours. So that's where it all comes into play. The trick bag. They set you up day by day, and they had this planned out ever since they took us from our native land. Like, they needed for us to, the U.S. really owes us more than what they are solely giving, the little minute that they're giving us of freedom. They owe us a lot more than that. And they're not willing to admit it because that means they'll not only be indebted to China, they'll be even further indebted to the debt that they owe to China has nothing to, it cannot be compared, excuse me, to what they owe us as more people, as black people. Nowhere near. But we escaped that thought with the little bit of freedom that we receive. We have to stop that. We have to demand more. We have to stop being in fear that if we demand more, that they're going to do stuff to our families. Like, band together. I mean, I'm just using that as an example, but for real, we are a better force, we are a greater force as a group versus as individual units. We need to mobilize. We need to organize. We need to put petty differences aside and look at bigger pictures for real. It's some hard shit to do. I understand that. Trust. That's not to say that it can't happen. We have to start. It has to start somewhere. We have differences. We have viewpoints that are based off of certain faiths and religions and whatnot. I am not under any religious practice. I feel like that is the greatest division that was put in place for us as a people. You know why I say that? Because it messes with something that you cannot see, the spirit. So that makes it that much more detrimental to us internally. This division of a people with what they call religion. If there's only one supreme being, if there's only one most high, why are there all these different avenues to go about getting there? Because these different people, they had beefs. I know a better way. I know the best way. No, your way ain't the way, my man. That's not how we do it. My way say different. Everybody wanted to be the first one to do it, so to speak. That's where we are in life. Yeah. And again, image. We have to demand better of ourselves. It got to start somewhere, and that somewhere is within you. Stop letting people depict how you should live your life according to textbooks that weren't even written to cater toward, the way that it was intended for you to live, how things were originally set up. You control your destiny at the end of the day. You, us, we control our destiny. And we are destined to be great. You have to realize that. And that's something that you have to earn, essentially. Like, greatness is not necessarily something that is just bestowed upon you or you inherit it for real. It's something that you have to earn. It's an inheritance that you have to earn, so to speak. Sort of like, okay, for anybody that's been watching Power lately, there's the episode saying that the son had to go to school for X amount of years in order to earn his inheritance from his father, from his father's what do they call those things? Estate. And stipulations that come along with greatness is what I'm getting at. It's not as easily handed to us as the freedom of being able to say things that we can just say without certain judgments being passed or with the support of people who share a like mind of your own. It's bigger than that. And we are bigger than these things that hold us back. We have to recognize that, and we have to be better. That's about it for me, y'all.